This is the fifth video on the topic of vocational rehabilitation. Again, this is Dr. T. Scott Smith. Previous videos have addressed important topics such as defining vocational rehabilitation, family involvement, and planning in high school. This is the first video that has begun to address a more specific topic or a specific disability, namely autism. It is beyond the scope of the present video to discuss assessment of academic and social skills and other educational testing components. Rather than focusing on educational testing, this video and podcast will focus instead on vocational individuals with autism and perhaps even emotional disturbance. Whether you have autism yourself or you are a parent of someone with autism, imagine the following. Your child has been consistently waking up at 6:30 for the past 11 years or so. He or she attends school. They come home around 3:30. Now, your child with autism is set to graduate from high school. What happens now? Think about it. What does happen? Essentially, one of several processes may occur. One, nothing may happen, or the graduating senior stays home and may not work in any capacity. While this represents perhaps a safe alternative, it is important to consider the social adjustment, the academic aptitudes, and potentially whether behavioral problems may happen later. Something to consider. Generally, high school students can hang out generally for about 1 to 3 years. And then when they turn around 23, 24, behavioral problems begin to occur out of frustration, boredom. They get bored. It's an unpleasant thought, but this represents a true reality. Job placement may occur. In this situation, someone will enter the labor market. However, what kind of job? The type of job will depend upon the labor market itself, the number of jobs available within one geographic area, the skills of someone, whether they have particular skills to match a specific job, in reality, allowance for any particular behavioral realities, whether someone can or cannot adjust to work site. If you or even your child is considering job placement, then it may be important to consider the option of utilizing a job coach. A job coach offers guidance pertaining to time management, task performance, and socialization. It is somewhat comparable to having a buddy on a work site, initially while you are learning essential skills. A job coach does not stay forever. They don't. Rather, the job coach's presence fades over time. As you become better at a job, the job coach is present less often. Vocational technical training may occur. Importantly, there is a difference between vocational technical training and then a 4-year college. In terms of both types of programs and lengths of programs, salaries upon graduation, and job opportunities in the labor market. Vocational technical programs tend to be 1 to 2 years in length. Some may offer shorter, such as 6-month duration. The types of programs may vary, including welding, automotive mechanics, clinical lab technician, child care, and others. If there are concerns about, quote, finishing a 4-year program, there is a need to, quote, obtain basic skills, this may represent a good option. Importantly, unfortunately, in my opinion, there is perception that a 4-year degree is the ultimate goal or the best achievement academically. Upfront, I disagree. Your degree does not guarantee employment. And unfortunately, someone with a 4-year degree does not necessarily make more money than a person with a vocational technical degree. As such, identify programs and vocational goals based upon your individual interests, your skills, and understanding of your disabilities, as opposed to a perspective of a 4-year degree or nothing. A person may pursue a 4-year degree or decide to go to college. This represents another option. There are generally several frameworks to consider when considering the probability of success when pursuing a 4-year degree, particularly for someone with autism and also individuals with social and emotional challenges. First, there's academic skills. There is a big difference between meeting the minimal skills and having necessary skills to graduate. Generally, this is observed regarding those that graduate and, again, those that get into school but do not graduate. You need to have an 18 or greater on the ACT. You need to complete college prep programs. You need exposure to the basic sciences, chemistry at a minimum. You need to complete basic math, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, and have some knowledge of geometry. I recommend that you visit a school. You need to be aware that the same processes in high school just do not apply to colleges. Different colleges have different personalities, quality of disability services, and accommodation. Willingness for professors or instructors to work with individuals with disabilities, and then most importantly, quality of majors. Those that conduct at least one visit to a school tend to make better choices about what school is best for them. Speaking to an instructor or professor about your major, deciding on your major will represent one of the most important decisions of your life. Unfortunately, people will often spend little or no time to deciding on what their major is and choose a major that is simply cool or perhaps convenient or one that their friends recommend. However, they do not understand about the types of classes, the academic rigor needed to graduate, and most importantly, true employment opportunities after you graduate. Lots of this information will be available to you from an instructor or professor from a program at a college that you want to attend. Just as finding a good match with a college or university is important, finding a good match with a major is also important. This step will assure that you do not lose hours, and also frustration levels are kept to a minimum in your educational process. While we have talked about job placement retraining options, it is particularly important to talk about behavior, social changes, and emotional adjustment after high school, particularly when considering post-high school placement. While post-high school offers many opportunities, recognize that life does not always necessarily change after you graduate from high school. If you have difficulties obtaining friends in high school, chances are the same will happen after high school. On the opposite, if you had a good opportunity to adjust and acquire friends during high school, the same will happen after high school. However, recognize just as you change, people will also change. Namely, people will mature, perhaps they will grow wiser and adjust to the world. Do not assume that folks in college will be the same as they were in high school. Just as you were nervous and uncertain for this next step, recognize that your peers, whether in the workplace or in school, will be just as nervous and uncertain as you are. Be careful about dramatic changes in medical care, psychological services during this next step. Often, individuals with autism will exit high school, then begin to make a broad decision, such as, I need to change my medicine, or I need to stop attending therapy. In addition to these changes, they are simply graduating from high school, starting work or school, and simply put, there may be too much change at one time. Be careful of too many changes. Be smart with these changes. Recognize your limits, but concurrently strive to be your best. Similar to Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you need to find the best one or the best option for your post-high school planning. This video and podcast has offered several bits of guidance and information for the parent, person with autism, teacher of students, and others regarding vocational planning for individuals with autism. Indeed, this is a happy time, particularly in college and when you begin job placement. Be careful with planning as needed by parents, others, and be careful with understanding what you want to accomplish. This is Dr. Scott Smith, and this is the 5th video and podcast regarding vocational rehabilitation. Make sure to check out my website, www.strategy365consulting.com, and check out my podcast, Dr. Scott Smith and Vocational Rehabilitation. Other videos are available on other disabilities. Make sure to check them out. And also, goodbye, farewell.